My excerpt is taken from The Hobbit by J.R. Tolkien, from chapter 6, Riddles in the Dark. And the two main characters are Bilbo Baggins and the Golem. Bilbo Baggins, the Hobbit, gets lost in the dark and in the dark cave and encounters the Golem, who lives in the deep dark cave. The two of them made a bet, and they'll play a game of riddles. And if Bilbo Baggins, the Hobbit, wins, then the Golem will show him the way out. But if he loses, then Golem will eat him up. So what interests me about this is that the tension between Bilbo and Golem and the distinct characteristics being portrayed by the author. Deep down here, by the dark water, lived old Golem, a small slimy creature. I don't know where he came from, nor who or what he was. He was Golem, as dark as darkness, except for two big round pale eyes in his thin face. He had a little boat, and he rowed about quite quietly on the lake, for lake it was, wide and deep and deadly cold. He paddled it with large feet dangling over the side, but never a ripple did he make. Bless us and slash us, my precious. I guess it's a choice feast. At least, a tasty morsel it'd make us. Golem! And when he said golem, he made a horrible swallowing noise in his throat. That is how he got his name. Though, he always called himself my precious. The hobbit jumped nearly out of his skin when the hiss came in his ears, and he suddenly saw the pale eyes sticking out at him. Who are you? He said, thrusting his dagger in front of him. What is he, my precious? Whispered Golem, who always spoke to himself, though never having someone else to speak to. This is what he had come to find out, for he was not really very hungry at the moment, only curious. Otherwise, he would have grabbed first and whispered afterwards. I am Mr. Bilbo Baggins, and I have lost the dwarves, and I have lost the wizard, and I don't know where I am, and I don't want to know. If only I can get away. What's he got in his hands? Said Golem, looking at the sword, which he did not quite like. A sword, a blade which came out of Gondolin. Sss, said Golem, and became quite polite. Perhaps you'd sit here and chat with little Bitsy, my precious. It likes riddles. Perhaps it does. Does it? He was anxious to appear friendly, at any rate for the moment, and until he found out more about the sword and the hobbit, whether he was quite alone really, whether he was good to eat, and whether Golem was really hungry. Riddles were all that he could think of. Asking them, and sometimes guessing them, had been the only game he had ever played with other funny creatures sitting in the holes in the long, long ago, before he lost all his friends and was driven away, alone, and crept down, down into the dark under the mountains. Very well, said Bilbo, who was anxious to agree, until he found out more about the creature, whether he was alone or whether he was fierce or angry, or whether he was a friend of the goblins. You ask first, he said, because he had not time to think of riddle. So Golem hissed, What has roots, as nobody sees, is taller than trees. Up, up it goes, and yet never grows. Easy, said Bilbo. Mountain, I suppose. Does it get easy? It must have been in competition with us. My precious. A precious act, and it doesn't answer. We eats it, my precious. If it asks us, and we doesn't answer, then we does what it wants, eh? We show it's a way out. Yes. All right, said Bilbo, not daring to disagree, and nearly bursting his brain to think of riddles that could save him from being eaten. 30 white horses, on a red hill. First they chant, then they stand still. That was all he could think of to ask. The idea of eating was rather on his mind. It was rather an old one, too, and Golem knew the answer, as well as you do. Chestnuts, chestnuts, he hissed. Teeth, teeth, my precious, but we only had six. Did he ask a second? Voiceless, it cries, wingless, flutters, toothless, bites, mouthless, mutters. Uh, half a moment, cried Bilbo, who was still thinking uncomfortably about eating. Fortunately, he had once heard something rather like this before, and getting his wits back, he thought of the answer. Wind, wind, of course, he said, and he was so pleased that he made up one on the spot. A box, without hinges, key, or lid, yet golden treasure inside is hid. He asked to gain time until he could think of a really hard one. This, he thought, a dreadfully easy chestnut, even though had not asked it in the usual words, but it had proved a nasty poser for the golem. He hissed himself, and still he did not answer. He whispered and sputtered. After some while, Pipple became impatient. Well, what is it? He said. The answer is not a kettle boiling over, as you seem to think from the noise you're making. Give us a chance. Let it give us a chance, my precious. Well, Bilbo, said after giving him a long chance. What about your guess? But suddenly Golem remembered thieving from nests long ago and sitting under the riverbank, teaching his grandmother, to suck. Exes, he hissed. Exes it is. Suddenly, Bilbo heard a screech. It sent a shiver down his back. Golem was cursing and wailing away in the gloom, not very far off by the sound of it. He was on his island, scrabbling here and there, searching and seeking in vain. Where is it? Where is it? Bilbo heard him crying. Lost! It is! My precious! Lost! Lost! Curse us and crush us! My precious is lost! What's the matter? Bilbo called. What have you lost? It mustn't ask us! Shrieked Golem. Not its business. No, Golem. It's lost. Golem. 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 Thank you.